I'm going to pull this speaker out to try and get some more room. And since it's just a couple Phillips, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. Three Phillips. Had to pull the door handle out because the bolt for the regulator is behind it. The other bolt's right there. The other two bolts are on the bottom here and here. We'll pull the screws out of the power window motor. If you look down inside here, the bottom of the regulator mounts right here, and then it has these teeth. I would assume that's an adjustment to adjust the regulator in and out. So you should probably mark that adjustment. The other side is the same way. So I put a nice simple paint mark on them. Now, based on the design of this regulator, I would assume it disconnects from the window when you lower the window down to this position. There's also a hole here, so I would assume that's for accessing the way to disconnect the window from the regulator. Problem is, this window won't go up or down, so it's going to be a struggle to get the window to disconnect in order to remove the regulator. Maybe if I push down on it while I operate the button, it'll go down and I can get it down to where I can release the window from the track. Ah, well, look at that. Huh. Okay, after a few trying experiences with these, this is what I've learned. The gear on the back, if you can see that, I literally had to clean the dirt off the window. You see that dirt inside there? I had to clean the dirt off the window in order to get a better view of it. But that gear on the back, you can grab that with a pair of channel locks and loosen the screw. The screw does not pivot around that gear. It is the gear. It's built in. So don't try and unbolt the window from it through this hole with the little Torx. You will break the Torx off. Here's the channel locks I'm using. Okay, so there I have the channel locks on the gear, and I'm pushing downwards on it. Probably not going to be able to do this in video at the same time, so I'll show you once I got it broke loose. I got it broke loose with the channel locks, and now it turns not super free, but free enough where I can turn it with my fingers. And out it comes. Once it starts spinning free, a little bit of force outwards on it. And there it is. So you could do it with channel locks and then spin it out with your fingers, or break it loose with channel locks if it's stiff, then roll it down to here and use the Torx at the end. But don't try and break it loose with that little Torx in there. You will end up with a broken Torx bit. So there's the geared wheel. Don't think I'm going to be able to show you the actual footage of doing this, but that's kind of how it looks. Oh, I got a little turn on it. And once it's broke loose, then it just turns easy. To remove this trim across here, you have these plastic pop in here. One over here on the side, and here, here, and here. You'll need to pull this rubber trim off enough to where you can see in here to get to release those clips right there. Hopefully I can show you that. And then you just go through the hole with your hand and pop it off there and off there. That way you can get these cables out of there. And now that these cables are off the top here, you should be able to get the regulator out by holding it down like this. Make sure the cables are free of their brackets and you're not breaking them, they're just plastic. And you can bring the regulator and the motor out together and unplug it. As I'm editing this video, I realized how lucky I was that the motor started working to where I could move the window up or down to get it at the right height to where I could remove the gear head bolts that retain the window to the regulator. If it would have been all the way up high, there's no way I could have put channel locks on those bolts, so I had to get it lower to the right height where I could access those bolts. So I wanted to discuss that a bit and give you some options on what to do if yours is not going up or down. And the first thing you need to do is beat on the area of the motor. Just waylay on it with your fist or maybe a dead blow hammer, because a lot of times a sharp impact like that will make an electric motor work again. For instance, fuel pumps, we beat on fuel tanks all the time in order to make fuel pumps work again. You can beat on that window motor area and maybe it'll start working again, and then you can lower it down where you need to go. The second thing, which was what I did, was to force the window downward. I just put a whole bunch of force downwards while pushing the button, and it moves rotates the armature inside the motor just a little bit to where the commutator's sitting on a different area of the brushes, and allows it to make contact again and start working. If that doesn't work and you're certain the regulator is the problem with your window, then pull the cables down from the top. Pull them down and just cut them. You know, your regulator's no good anyway, so go ahead and cut them, and then that should allow you to be able to bring that window down to where you can unbolt it. Be careful when you cut them that your window doesn't drop and break. But if you're not sure if your regulator's a problem and you don't want to cut it, obviously you don't want to ruin an expensive regulator if you don't need to, then it is possible to disassemble the motor in place. You can there's 4 bolts on the motor cover, they're a little Torx head. You could take them out with a nut driver or a little 1/4-inch ratchet, take those cover bolts out, then you can grab a hold of the armature itself and rotate it just as if the motor was turning electrically, rotate it and move the window down some. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it is possible, and that way you don't ruin a part. If I didn't know that's what I would do, I would go ahead and take that out. You could even clean it, then put it back in and maybe fix the problem. At that point, it's so easy to get the regulator out that you might as well get it out and fix it on the workbench. Hope that helps. If you like this video, give me a like and subscribe, and visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com.